Very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of Stuart Close philosophy. And we are discussing regarding the chapter the symptomatology. Many aspects of symptomatology we have learned up till now. He started with the knowledge of materia medica and later on started explaining about symptomatology. And in the symptomatology, the subjective and objective symptoms and their values we have discussed. The subjectives are very important, which individualizes the cases very easily than the objectives, and that's why in homeopathy we give maximum importance to the subjective symptoms. And thereafter he started explaining about the totality of the symptoms. And totality of the symptoms is nothing but an outwardly reflected picture of the internal essence of the disease, as has rightly said by Hahnemann in seventh aphorism in the sixth edition of Organon. And this is what the clause is explaining, that whenever you have to deal with any patient, whether it is an acute or whether it is chronic, you have to take into consideration this totality which is outwardly reflected. But what type of totality should be? It should not be just a numerical totality that you are getting thousands of symptoms, but you are not coming to this conclusion of anything. But a symptom, even a single symptom, which has a location, a sensation, a modality, a concomitant, and which is characteristic enough to individualize that case, then it has a meaning. Then that symptom individualizes that patient and it is possible to come to the right remedy. So numerical totality is not important, but the totality which carries some meaning, which gives the individuality, which is characteristic enough, which tells you the genius of the remedy, is important for your point of view. And if you get such types of symptoms which are not pathognomy, which are not pathogenetic, but which are specifically expressing the individuality, are very important from the homeopathic point of view. So diagnostic symptoms are not important because they are common symptoms of the disease, but the therapeutic totality where the symptoms are individualizing and it reflects the patient's picture are important from homeopathic point of view. And this is what we were discussing in yesterday, and we have discussed many examples of it while discussing. We'll start with the on page number 155, the first paragraph. As a constructive principle, therefore, the idea of totality enters into the formation not only of the materia medica as a whole, but of every remedy and every symptom. Each disease, each individual case of disease, and each symptom of disease has its totality or individual form. So here he is trying to explain both the things. If you are considering the materia medica, it should not be materia medica of whole of all remedies, but he is explaining the materia medica of the single remedy, and out of that of a single symptom. It is too important. The whatever is written after the proving has its own value. Every remedy, whenever proved on healthy human being, carries some of its essential features. And those features, if they are written in the same or very expressions as expressed by the patient, are important from homeopathic point of view. And in the similar manner, whenever you are dealing with the patient, it is not only the disease symptom, but everything, every symptom of the disease carries the value of totality, if it is characteristic enough. So, if the patient comes with headache, headache in general doesn't have carry a meaning. It is vague symptom. In the similar manner, in the materia medica, if you are looking for headache, you will have thousands of remedies in repertory. You cannot come to the conclusion. It doesn't have a significance. But if that headache is very specific, single symptom, patient is having very specific headache. It starts from the frontal side, it goes toward the head, the vertex, then it goes backward, associated with a tremendous constipation. So headache which starts over here, then it goes up, then it goes backward, front to backward, associated with obstinate constipation. If the patient is there, then you have some significance. Here the throbbing headache is there, which is coming, starting from frontal region, it goes to the vertex, then it goes to the occiput. See, and associated with the obstinate constipation. It has meaning. The headache concomitant is constipation. Gradation is very important. It starts from front side, then goes to the vertex, then goes to the occiput. Which remedy? Any specific remedy? We know the remedies from occiput to frontal one, but we don't know the remedy which goes from front to occiput. Open your Borix Medica. Let us look whether it is lag defloratum. Is it there? Lag defloratum is the remedy prepared from the skimmed milk and has very typical obstinate constipation where headache which starts frontal region and goes backward. This is very important. So, unless you get such type of characteristic totality, you cannot prescribe. A vague symptom is not a symptom which guides you toward the remedy, but a single individual complete symptom or characteristic symptom is important, and that is the totality of that case. Okay, we'll go further. If the day books or records of the good proving are examined, it will be seen that symptoms of each prover are set down chronologically in order of their occurrence, that each symptom is as complete as possible in its elements of locality, sensation, and modality, that the symptoms are stated mostly in the vernacular and the plain simple language of the layman, who describes phenomena as they appear to him simply, graphically, and by analogy or homely comparison. The record of these facts with the remarks and the observations of the director of the proving constitutes a proving in which exist the elements from which the materia medica is constructed. He has explained the whole story how the materia medica is done or it has developed. It is always by proving it on healthy human being. And the person who used to conduct this proving must be good enough about the knowledge of all those things so that the day book which is given to the prover, he will regularly going to check whatever the symptoms have been happened. Then he should write it down in a chronological way, the way it has started, it has developed and further has an evolution. He will going to write down the sensation, he will going to write down the modalities, he will going to find it out, is there any concomitant. He will try to make it move as complete as possible because that will be useful in further utilization. If it is vague, it doesn't have a significance. If the prover writes that he has headache, it doesn't have significance. But if the prover writes down there that the headache is neuralgic, then it starts reflecting something. If he says it is pulsating, then it has some sensation. So in the similar manner, if he writes down the modalities, yes, it gets aggravated whenever he looks towards the light, again becomes more useful for the physician. So the proving should be conducted in a proper manner so that you can get such type of totality which will be useful in order to individualize the patient. And this is the importance of totality while drug proving. The day books of the provers are not the materia medica. Not until this mass of material has been analyzed, sifted, classified according to its anatomical, physiological, and pathological relation, and has had its general and particular characteristics logically deducted, does it become materia medica. Does it become materia medica for the practical use? So materia medica is not like that whatever is explained by the prover is a materia medica. Then there is a method that it should be analyzed properly. There is not a single prover on whom you are going to prove the remedy. Here, there are number of provers. You have to collect the data from all of them. Then you have to analyze. You have to find it out what is common between them. Then you have to find it out what is the common sensation between them, what is the common location between them, what are the common modalities which they find it out. then what are the common concomitants they happen to be there, so that you can write it under specific anatomical head. So you have to find it out what is anatomical, what is physiological, what is pathological, their correlation, and thereafter your materia medica forms. So it is a tedious process. It is not just simple writing down each and every symptom and that is the materia medica. It's not so. So whenever you build your materia medica, it is from such a practical fact and which is analyzed and shifted and classified. Many things in proving must be interpreted in the light of anatomy, physiology, pathology, and psychology before they are available for therapeutic use. Just as just as the statements of the patient in regard to his sufferings must be interpreted in making the diagnosis or in making the prescription. So what he is explaining, that whenever you are writing down these provings, you have to write down in the proper words, from the anatomical sense, from the physiological sense, from the pathological sense, from the psychological sense. So if you, whenever you open your materia medica, Borix materia medica, it has been very systematically arranged. First, there is an introduction. First, one or two paragraphs, he explains about the action of the remedies, the common core or generalities of the remedy, and then he starts with mind, and then the anatomical schema, then the head, the neck, all those things in a sequence he used to write it down, because of which it is very easy for us to recognize the remedy at the same time to match the remedy. So knowledge of such a materia medica can be we can get because we have prepared it in such a manner, because of which it is possible to get a good prescription. If it is haphazard, we never get. And this is what he wants to explain. The true totality, therefore, is a work of art formed by the mind of the artist from the crude materials at his command, which are derived from proving from a clinical examination of the patient. What he is saying? The true totality, therefore, is a work of art. Very important word he is using. It is a work of art. Why? Formed by the mind of an artist from the crude materials at his command. So whatever is there after proving is the crude material available over there. Every prover has written their things in their day books. Then you have to collect, then you have to analyze, then you have to think, then you have to logically correlate, then you have to write it down in a proper manner. This is an art. It is intelligence which is required, which are derived from the proving from a clinical examination of the patient. So this is too important. Then and then you can get a clear-cut idea about the remedy. It is important that these points should be understood because otherwise there is liability to err in several directions. If you are not able to write down materia medica in such a manner, it causes an error. If it has been written haphazardly, then it is quite difficult to reach to the right remedy. And that's why whatever is written, it should be in a proper manner. Number one, what are the errors can happen? Error may arise in placing too much emphasis upon single symptom and perhaps actual prescribing on single symptom as many thoughtlessly do. There are many people who used to prescribe only on single symptom. Kent has specifically mentioned one important thing: your totality or your prescription should be based upon at least 3 legs stool. Means then and then it becomes firm, otherwise it cannot. So it is too important to come to the right conclusion unless you have 3 pillars. A stool can become stable when there are 3 legs. In the similar manner, your totality becomes firm when you have at least three characteristics. You should not make your prescription only on one symptom and then many times you fail. Occasionally you get a remedy perfectly, otherwise you would not. And that's why he says over there that it should not be based upon single symptom. Second error which he mentions over there, error may arise in attempting to fit a remedy to a mass of indefinite, unrelated, and fragmentary symptoms by mechanical comparison of symptoms with symptoms. by which prescriber becomes more superficial, the symptom cover. Second important thing, if you are going to just write it down symptoms by symptoms without considering the whole core of the disorder or whole core of the case, then you are just a symptomatic prescriber. Means what? If you had written that patient is having headache, patient is having fever, patient is having chest pain, patient is having pain in abdomen, patient is having pain in lower extremities, all those things written over there, and you have written and you have find it out rubrics for each of them, and you repertorize and you have given the remedy. It doesn't signify anything because you have not got the core of the case. You have not understood what is the problem, what is the key where the case is expressing its own individuality. If you get that, then your remedy becomes perfect. If you don't get that, you can't. And this is second error generally happens, that you go give very much value to such vague symptoms, and you have many symptoms but which doesn't carry any importance, and then you are prescribing. It is trial and error. Number three. Third error, failing in both these ways, the prescriber will fall to the level of so-called pathological prescribers, who empirically base their treatment upon the theoretical pathological diagnosis and the end in prescribing unnecessary and injurious sedatives, stimulants, combination tablets, and other crude mixtures of common practice. This is third important thing. If you fail to choose or to come to the right remedy, generally those people generally turns towards the pathological prescribing. And when they start doing pathological prescribing, they generally used to produce a faulty result. Then they try various drugs, then they try the combination, then they try the mixture, then they try the sedative. What is the end stage in cancer? What do? When radiation fails, when surgery fails, when chemotherapy fails, the last resort, giving the sedatives or the opium is the best solution, which is given generally to such types of, or opium derivatives are given. So these such a thing which will not going to cure, in fact, which will lead towards the more damage of the patient. And these errors should not happen. And if you don't want to develop these errors, you must give importance to the totality of the symptoms, and that totality which is good enough or characteristic enough to find it out or to choose a right remedy. And then he further says, the physician who knows what a symptom is from the homeopathic standpoint and how to elicit it, who knows what the totality of symptoms means and how to construct it, and who has the intelligence, the patience, and the honesty to study his case until he finds it will not be guilty of such a practice. So he is explaining over there, each physician, homeopathic physician, should give enough time to the patient. He should listen the patient. He should write it down each and everything as detailed by the patient. Then he should analyze that. He should find it out exact totality out of that case. Then he should analyze that totality. Then he should evaluate. So you have to give a good time. It's not random prescribing in homeopathy. So ultimately, whatever is needed for the homeopath is the totality of the symptoms, and basically it's a time consuming. It is not just a symptomatic prescribing. And that's why whenever you are dealing with homeopathy, you must be attentive to all those points which are mentioned over here, that you should have a patience, you should have the honesty, you should have the intelligence, you should be able to construct your own method to take the case and to form the totality, so that you can go to the, or you can give a right prescription for the patient. So he has discussed first with the subjective symptoms, then the objective symptoms, then the totality of the symptoms, and now he turns toward the another important point, the characteristics and keynotes. And this is again one of the important thing one has to understand. Without characteristics or without keynotes, you cannot come to the right conclusion. So what is the characteristic symptom? The symptoms which characterizes an individual are called as characteristic. There are four types. the peculiar, the queer, the rare, and the strange. So peculiar is peculiarity. Queer means vichitra, which is not at all logical. That is queer. Third is rare. Rare means those which happens to be there rarely in the patients and rarely in the remedies. Rare. And strange or striking. Actually, it is striking very clear-cut indication, because striking is the thing which defines, yes, this is arsenic, this is sulfur, because this is striking so strongly, so striking. Uh, that makes the symptom characteristic enough. And this is what he wants to explain further. So he starts with characteristics and the keynotes. In the paragraph 153 of the Organon, Hahnemann says that in comparing the collective symptoms of the natural disease with the drug symptoms for the purpose of finding the specific curative remedy, the more striking, singular, uncommon, peculiar, characteristic signs and symptoms of the case are chiefly and almost solely to be kept in view, for it is more particularly these that very similar ones in the list of the symptoms of the selected medicine must correspond to in order to constitute it the most suitable for effecting the cure. See what he is explaining. In the aphorism number 153, he explains that what is needed for you is the characteristic symptom. What type of characteristic symptom? Hahnemann says the more striking, which comes strongly in the case. His patient is explaining that he is having burning in the head, he is having burning in throat, he is having burning in the stomach, he is having burning in feet, and he says that I have to put it in cold water. Striking. It is strongly coming in the case and through and through. It is not just in one part, it is through and through. That is striking. Singular. Singular means which carries which has a meaning, which defines very specific remedy. Headache specifically at glabella, very important, singular, indicated with the tip of the finger. Calibicromicum, singular. Singular, uncommon. The symptoms should be uncommon. Uncommon means they are not vague. They are not, there is just patient is thirsty. It doesn't have meaning. But if the patient is having thirst for small quantities of water at short intervals, that carries some meaning. So it is uncommon. That means it gives you some indication toward the remedy that it might be arsenic. Peculiar. Peculiarity is related with the individuality. Every peculiarity, the peculiarity of lycopodium, the motions of wings span like during pneumonia, lycopodium and entimptard, you can get. This is peculiarity, not rest of the remedies, but it is common with the lycopodium and entimptartaricum. Peculiar characteristic signs and symptoms of the case are chiefly and almost solely. It is written in italics, that means it has a meaning. Almost solely to be kept in the view, for it is more particularly these that very similar ones in the list of symptoms of the selected medicine must be correspond to in order to constitute in most suitable of the effecting cure. So if such types of symptoms are present in your case, then it has a significance. Then definitely it will going to work. Then definitely it will going to produce the results. This is the big totality in your case. The more general, common, and undefined symptoms, loss of appetite, headache, debility, etc., demand but little attention when of the vague and indefinite character, if they cannot be more accurately described, as symptoms of such a general nature are observed in almost every disease and drug. So if patient comes, doctor, I have headache, I have fever, I don't have appetite, I don't have thirst, it doesn't have a significance. These are vague symptoms. You are not getting characteristics. You are not getting peculiarity. You are not getting striking something. You are not getting something which is rare. So how can you come to the conclusion of a remedy? And that's why there lies importance of totality of the symptoms, and that totality should be made up of characteristics. And that's why Kent has defined it in a very proper manner. It is the sum of all characteristic symptoms is called as a totality of symptoms. This is the Kent's definition of the totality of symptoms. Boninghosen made it in a different manner. He says it is sum of all complete symptoms is called as the totality of symptoms. Because those are the people who consider that instead of wasting time on just vague symptoms is not of any use. If you get characteristic totality, your work is done and you can reach to the right prescription. And this seems a sufficiently clear description of what Hahnemann meant by characteristic symptoms, and the term has been the subject of much discussion, and many have differed as to what constitutes a characteristic. So here Hahnemann have specifically mentioned about the importance of characteristic symptoms, and this we have to understand properly. If we get such types of symptoms, in your case, it is rather simple to reach to the right remedy and to prescribe a remedy. So there is always lies the importance of characteristic symptoms in your case. We'll stop over here and we'll continue in tomorrow's session. We are till half of the chapter. It is a big chapter which gives you many aspects of symptomatology and importance of it, which has been mentioned over there. So that's all for today. Today evening we'll conclude the belladonna at 8 o'clock. And second important thing, tomorrow I don't know exactly whether I will be able to conduct session or not. I will let you know on in the group only. Those who have not yet joined my group, please send your name so that it will be quite convenient for you to get the messages. My mobile number is there. Send your name and address so that I will add you in the WhatsApp group and you will get the intimation. I have sent it on meeting chat, my mobile number, so that you will get the invitation. So that's all for today. Thank you being there.
Hello, sir.
Hmm?
Sir, I have one query. There is a one patient with eczema behind the ear, and the typical characteristic is the discharge is like the honey, and other symptoms also match almost 70 to 80% with the graphitis picture. So, sir, in boric it is given graphitis act for 40 to 50 days. So, sir, can I repeat graphitis in centesimal, or I should go with the LM?
Graphitis centesimal you cannot. Graphitis you can give 3 doses if you are giving centesimal 30 or 6. But if you are giving LM, you can repeat it. That will be better solution. If chronic eczema is there, it is always better to start with LM and repeat it for even 1 month, doesn't matter. That is the
LM1 daily one dose, no, sir? For 1 month.
LM1 daily 1 dose at least for 15 days. Let us observe after 15 days. Take the follow up after 15.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you being there. We'll meet again if time permits tomorrow or directly on Monday. Okay. Thanks and good night.